All right, so hey guys, we're having our second episode of the Based Advantage podcast. I'm here with Pete, and today we have our guest Logan. Logan's an interesting character. I've known him for quite some time. I like to think of him as the Dan Blitzerian of our friend group, kind of
Oh,
like Rick Flair in certain ways. Um, Great guy. So Logan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, RJ. Thank you for having me on the podcast. Um, been a good day so far. Just doing the normal things: gym, errands, laundry, all that, and prepping to hang with you guys this afternoon.
awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah,
It's a Logan. Where are you from?
I'm from Long Island, not too far from where RJ grew up. We met we met through our friend, and we got together. I don't know why we hit things off originally. I know we rode some dirt bikes together. Um, and that was pretty fun at that point in our life. But at this point now, I live out in Denver, Colorado,
Oh, wow.
and I'll tell you one thing that New Yorkers do really well out here. You know that East Coast state of mind and sense of mentality goes quite a long way when you move out west. And Colorado's such like a loving, open place that kind of sharp mentality that we have from back home just does really well and goes really far.
New Yorkers have a different drive.
I mean, I'll put it to you this way: I'm in between gigs right now, and I knew that there was going to be a time where I just needed to knuckle down and get back to work, and that actually hit me yesterday. I got back from a vacation, and I was like, all right, I had some fun because I went on two vacations back to back,
Oh, nice.
and what ended up happening to me, my mentality was after I did that, I was like, okay, it's grind time, and that sense of work ethic, I think, is a New York mentality for sure.
Time to get back to work.
Yeah, it's Monday morning. You know, I still got the rest of the week off.
Where did you go?
I went to two places back to back. So January, beginning of January, actually January 5th, I closed on a house, and then I left to Tampa that weekend. My buddy Seth, who moved to Jacksonville, Florida, he's been asking me to come out and visit him so much, and I really wanted to cultivate that friendship from a distance. So, like in my opinion, you know, friendships are like fires. You really got to stoke the fire if you want to, particularly as we get older. So I flew out. He wasn't in Jacksonville. He was in Tampa, and I said, "Hey, man, let's go to St. Pete and Clearwater, which is on the beach there."
I heard it's beautiful
So I
there.
flew into. Say again.
I heard it's beautiful there.
It's my favorite part of Florida. It's got the palm trees. There's a lot of island hopping and bridges when they take their boats out. Some of them don't even leave the Tampa Bay; they just island hop. Like you can boat to your house there for about a half a million starting, and then obviously it goes up from there. But you know, you take your wife out on the boat, go to downtown Tampa, have dinner, go back. You never even drove on the road. You know, they have like Paradise Island and Beer Can Island and Mermaid Cove, and you just kind of hop around there. It's cool. I'll own property there at some point in my life, but went down there. Saw my buddy Seth, met up with my other friend who lives there, so I was able to crash for free. And while I was there, we saw John Summit, and it was crazy because we ended up buying fake tickets to John Summit along with about 100 other people at the casino.
Wow.
Um, but when me and my buddy Zach are together, there's really nothing that can stop us. So we knew we were getting in. It was just a matter of how, and we ended up just circling up with 10 different people that also bought fake tickets, and we bought bottle service and got a table, and we all got in that way. And saw John Summit at the pool party. That was I guess first weekend in January, and then this past weekend I went to Banff, which is in Canada. I don't know if you guys know Alberta and British Columbia, but I flew into Edmonton, saw a hockey game, Oilers versus Tampa Bay Lightning, actually, and that was electric to say the least. I mean, hockey fights, high scoring game, people getting thrown up against the glass, and I never knew I was such a hockey fan until you're live at a game. And I'm like, get that shit out of here. I'm like, throw the gloves down, getting hyped with it. So we saw an
Plus in
Oilers game. We
Canada.
skied Lake Louise, which is it's definitely a hot spot in Banff. Great place to take pictures. They're playing hockey on the frozen lake. Got a hot chocolate. Walking out on the frozen lake there, and then we went over to Revelstoke, which was, I mean, it was beautiful. We were skiing above the clouds, so you took 3 chairlifts to get to the top, and this mountain is huge. I'll give you an example. Over in New York, you got Hunter Mountain. It's 1,600 feet of vertical. And then you got out here in Colorado, most of the mountains are about 2,500. The biggest mountains are like Jackson Hole and Big Sky. That's in Wyoming and Montana. And those are about 4,100 and 4,400. Revelstoke is 5,620. So it's like put another mountain on top of some of the biggest mountains. Literally 5 times as big as Hunter Mountain in New York. And that's when, that's the type of thing that if you're at the top or you're at the bottom, it's 2 different weather systems, So at the bottom, it's gray. Halfway up, you're in the cloud. And at the top, you're above the clouds in the sunlight.
Wow.
And it just feels like heaven. Feels like heaven.
That's cool. So last week when we checked in a little bit before your trip, you were telling me that you were going away to visit some folks in Canada that you had met over in Denver. I thought that story was pretty interesting. I don't know if you want to share a little bit about that.
Yeah, RJ, I'd love to. The guy that I met, he's a really cool cat. He lives up in Edmonton, which is, I don't know, maybe 7-8 hours north of the Canadian border. I mean, it is way up there. And we met in Denver. While we were in Denver, I guess the reason we hit it off, I was at a pub. There was some good music playing. I saw him with this girl. They just looked like they were having fun, and I bought him a shot. Like, I bought him a drink. And turns out he's into motorcycles and skiing and electronic music. So for me, that's like win-win-win. And this guy's he's really cool. He currently holds 4 track records at 4 different tracks on his motorcycle for fastest time. Like the track record, his name is there at the top at 4 different tracks currently. So he's a motorhead to say the least. And he's been to Denver a few times. And when we met, you know me, I'm hospitality driven, like a lot of New Yorkers. If you're at the house, I'm cooking for you. So when he saw that, he was just happy. And I ended up plugging him in with a bunch of very sexy ladies to a concert that I wasn't even going to. So we made friends and I plugged him in. And all of a sudden he's hanging out with these hot girls. He's at this concert. I'm not even there. But we kept in touch. And then we saw each other one more time in Denver before it was my turn to come take a trip out to him. So I wanted to, like I said before, stoke that fire and cultivate that relationship by going to see him. And I would bet that probably pretty tough for him to get people to come visit him in Edmonton, Canada, being up in the north there. Most people want to see palm trees and not ice on the ground.
I just think that's so cool. I mean, since you moved out of New York, you're one of the guys I speak to, maybe not most often, but like we have such like deep conversations about like the changes and our challenges, opportunities that are coming up in our lives. And it's really cool to me to hear that you also are maintaining those friendships with other people that you meet, especially like despite the difference if they live out of state. So I just think that's really cool. And it's something I think that I need to work on a lot as well. There's some guys that I had really close friendships over the years and we just fall out of touch. And I almost get this like chip on my shoulder. Like if they want to talk to me, I'll reach out to them. But, I think it's important to remember that friendships work both ways. If you're interested in maintaining that relationship with somebody and you don't want to see it fade out, like you can also take that step and try to, like you said, stoke the fire. So I just think that's awesome, man.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the lessons that I learned, especially in this past year, is that the relationships that we build are a currency of sorts. I give an example. my relationship with you and the check-ins that we do, and Brian up in Edmonton, Canada, and Seth, who's over in Jacksonville, and my buddy Zach, who's in Tampa, right? Those friendships end up not only being the most important ones to me because of the work that they take to keep, but they also become the most fulfilling as well. And what I mean by a currency is that I'd say in earlier years of my life, I was very money focused. That's something that money driven, working hard, want to make as much money so I have all the freedom that I could possibly want to do the things that I want to do with my life. However, what's equally important is the relationships you make along the way. So, after it was in January last year, I had lost my job. I was with them for 9 years. But because of the relationships that I made over those 9 years, professionally and platonically, the time I had without a job was zero. I was instantly able to pick up the phone and make a phone call and say, "Hey, I'm looking for work." And they said, "Yes, you're hired." I didn't have to talk to the VP or the president, anything. They said, "You're hired. We'd love to have you." And that really showed me the value of the relationships. And I think you know what I mean. And that's just going to grow a little bit more and a little bit more as long as you take it seriously. And what's really cool about it, RJ, is you get to choose. You don't get to choose your family or where you're born or the neighborhood or even the high school you went to, but you do get to choose the cultivation or the friendships you cultivate in your later years in life. And I'll tell you another thing. If those people that you said, they'll reach out to me, I'll reach out to them. If you don't feel the want and the need to, then they're probably not the type of person that you need around anyway. You know what I mean?
I do. Very
No.
insightful, man. And I remember too from some previous conversations that we had when you were out of work, the time you're just speaking of, and you got that job very quickly. In that situation, you actually moved out of state for a bit, right?
Yes. Last year was a growth year to say the least. After that 9 year gig, since then, that was January of last year, I've moved 5 times. I've had 3 different jobs, and I bought a house all during that time.
Wow.
And it was emotionally um, just invigorating, rigorous, however you want to put it. Like there was times where I was down, there was times where I was up, and that's really when I realized, how important the relationships are. So, as far as geographically, it was a move from Denver to Las Vegas. I moved to Las Vegas in Q1 of last year, and I opened up an LLC and I started my own solar business with this provider of installers. So I was able to make some money without having to do any installations. And the solar game is huge right now. And while I was there, the owner of the property said, "We want you guys out. We want the tenants out." I had been there 3 weeks. They're like, "You're out. We're moving back into this." And they're the property owner. So I was like, "Okay, I'm out." And then I moved a second time to another location in Las Vegas. Kept at it there, realized I hated Vegas. I think it's
What
good
didn't
for
you like about
24 hours.
Vegas?
No matter what they say, it all revolves around the strip. It definitely is a trap of
Tourists.
humans that are of, in my opinion, a lower caliber when it comes to value and morals. They call it Sin City, and it is exactly that. If you're not into staying up all night, gambling, drinking, going down to the strip, then it's really not a place for you. There is a culture and a community outside of it. They have Lake Mead. The river below the Hoover Dam is actually quite beautiful. There's great dirt biking and mountain biking. But the young crew that I was caught up with, anytime it came to going out and having some fun, we were hitting Fremont Street. And don't get me wrong, there was a lot of fun to be had. I know a club owner out there, and with those guys that were plugged into the solar game, we were never paying for drinks. We were never paying for tables, and we had a level of exclusivity that was pretty grand, even for Las Vegas. But with that in mind, I didn't enjoy that. I wanted to make some money, and I want to enjoy the leisure activities that I like. And I like to go skiing. I like to go camping, dirt biking. Um, and I wasn't doing enough of it out there. And the connections I was making didn't feel like they had a lot of morality to them. And it just felt like Las Vegas, man. Uh, yeah, so I quickly got on the phone after I came to that conclusion, and I called my friend here back in Denver, and I said, "Hey, I hate it out here. I want to come back to Denver." I was there for about 4 months, and when he took that phone call, he was like, "All right, cool." I said, "I need a job." He said, "You're hired." He was working at a company doing kitchens and baths. Made the phone call to the vice president. He goes, "I got the call from my buddy Mitch and Josh, and they both recommended you highly, so you're hired." I didn't even meet the guy. Call Mitch back. He said, "I'm hired." I said, "I need a place to stay." Says, "You got it. Come move into my basement." I was able to move back to Denver that very next week. I sold my street bike so I didn't have to lug it, and it paid for the move. And within a week, I was back to Denver, had a place to live, and had a job. And even though I owned property at that time in Denver, I wasn't able to move into it because it was rented out. So I had to wait several months and live in a basement, go back to the grind, so I could get back to Denver and be where I want to be.
So Logan,
Yeah, so it was quite good, quite a lot of change.
no, yeah, it's a lot. It's a big move. I just moved 800 miles, so I know it's that what you did is huge.
Where'd you move from?
I went from New York to South Carolina.
Excellent.
Yeah, I like the South.
How do
South's
you
nice.
like it? You must like it.
Well, it's
Oh,
got a
it's
cowboy hat already.
yeah. I got to yeah.
I've been to the Outer Banks, but that's North Carolina.
Yeah, it's a little. Yeah, it's north of me. Yeah,
It's
it's
north
nice
of
down
you.
here. It's a different lifestyle. It's yeah, it's great so far. It's been great. The people are super nice. More in line with my values.
Yeah.
The weather's nicer. It's been warm. Obviously
How's the food?
it's January. Food's good. A little bit different than New York. I'm not getting any Italian food or Chinese food that doesn't exist here.
Okay.
But there's different
Barbecue.
food that's good.
You close to the water?
Yeah, I'm on the water. I'm in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah, it's popping over there.
Yeah, well right now it's the off season, so there's not a lot going on. But
Let me ask you something. Do you have a house out there?
I have a condo.
Condo. Okay. Well, if you ever need any home improvements, I'll plug you right in. I know a guy that works for a big company out there.
Oh, cool. Thank you. I appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no problem.
So one of the things that I thought was interesting was a lot of the vacations that you go on and trips. I guess with your
Yeah.
friends. What kind of trips have you gone on?
So the last one was Canada. The one before that was Tampa. And then before that, I went down to Key West in December, and I got to see my family. So we didn't do how do you put it? Christmas on Christmas. We did the second weekend of December because it's half price to fly, and nobody wants to fly into New York for Christmas anyway, just for one dinner. It's cold, it's expensive, it sucks. So we said, "Hey, where are we gonna go?" And everybody had a passport except for my father. And I should kick him in his ass because he was air traffic control for 25 years. He should have his freaking passport.
Yeah.
But I want to take everybody to Mexico, but we didn't do that. We ended up going to Key West instead. I don't know if you've ever been there. Down on Duval Street. It's a drinking town, but it is super, super chill. So we had a house on the beach. We were there for 4 days. My buddy Gerard was with us, and we got hammered. We just bought light rum, dark rum, ice, and fruit, and we just had the blender going. So it was a pretty fun trip for us. I'll give you the quick highlights before a month before that. November, I didn't go anywhere in November, but in October I went to Seattle, and I saw Rufus Du Sol at the Gorge Amphitheater. Which
Oh, I love Rufus.
you love Rufus Du Sol?
I love Rufus, man. I've never.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, like a top of my list, man.
Okay, well, we're gonna get you tickets, and we're gonna go meet up at a Rufus concert. Then that I've been wanting to meet you somewhere not on Long Island, and now I know how to get you. So I'll get you at Rufus, easy. I'll buy you a Rufus to Soul ticket, and then you buy the flight.
I like it.
Yeah. More on travel. I went to Greece in September last year. I'm sorry, October. No, Rufus to Soul was in October. The month before that, September, I went to Greece. And when I travel to Europe, I typically try to tack on something because I buy a lot of one ways instead of round trips. So I came back through Berlin and I did like a quick 36 hours in Berlin.
Oh wow.
Um, Before that, I did Austin. I was in Austin on Lake Travis. That was in the summertime. I couldn't tell you when. But this is just the last 12 months. I did Lake Powell, which is in Arizona. I don't know if you guys have ever been Lake Powell. Did Lake Mead, obviously, when I was in Vegas. And at the beginning of the year, I did some ski trips, which I'm constantly doing. It was out to Utah. So if you guys ever ski Utah from the airport, less than 1 hour from the airport, there are about 7 different mountains you can hit. And my favorites are Snowbird and Deer Valley. So I hit those ones as well. And like you were saying before, RJ, ships, right? So a lot of these places, like when I was in Lake Travis, I stayed with Brian for free. When I was in Utah, I stayed with my friend's army buddy just for one night, and we Airbnb most of the time. But just like using those relationships to be able to go to these places, and even if it just saves you like one hotel night and it plugs you in for one dinner or one night out, one morning adventure or something, you'll never forget it. You'll never forget that time you're with your buddy, stay doing that one thing that you guys were looking forward to.
Talking to you and your trips, I feel like I don't even do anything.
He always makes me feel like that, man.
I feel like I'm not even living a real life.
It's hard to keep up with. Man. But you got to prioritize. You prioritize, make it happen. Another thing, don't be afraid to go by yourself.
I've traveled by myself. I enjoy it. I'd rather go by myself, honestly.
You're on your own schedule.
That's the
you're
best
doing
part.
exactly what you want the whole time. Like, do you want to stay in for breakfast? Do you want to go out? Do you want to go down to the beach? Do I want to go to the nightclub? You're doing exactly what you want. You're not waiting for anybody. And if you wait for somebody, you're going to just be waiting. You're just going to stay waiting.
Yeah, that really resonated with me. I've gone on like quite a few couples trips in my life, and I always find that I'm waiting on my friend's girlfriend. Like I want to go to the pool, I want to go to the bar, I want to go to the club, I want to go get dinner, and I'm ready. My girlfriend's ready. We're ready to go. My friend's sitting next to us waiting, and his girlfriend is just still getting ready or doesn't feel good, is still kind of like waking up. Like I think vacations I really like as few people as possible. I've never done a solo. I'm sure I would enjoy it. I'd rather be with like one person that I'm really close with, that I vibe with, like, really, really well. But I think limiting the number of people on a trip definitely improves the quality of the trip. If you're trying to do things together, if you're okay, if everyone's okay with like, hey, we're gonna meet up when it works, then that's cool. But I feel like a lot of the time I've spent time waiting, and vacation, that's your break from waiting and from doing stuff you don't want to do. So I just it like gets under my skin super quickly if I'm supposed to be relaxing and I'm sitting waiting for somebody while I'm on vacation.
There's definitely a sweet spot.
So you spoke about quite a few trips, right? You were talking about some of your hobbies, skiing. You do that pretty often, dirt biking. So maybe we could talk a little bit like how do you finance this stuff? Like what are you
Oof.
doing for work?
Hard work, dude. Hard work is the only way to do it. So, as far as like my W-2 job, I'm a salesperson, and specifically the niche industry that I'm in is home improvements. So, mostly residential. So anything from roofing, windows, siding, entry doors, attic insulation to kitchen remodels, bathroom remodels, floors. I mean, we don't really handle the small stuff like paint, but all of those things are my W-2. Like I could fix your house pretty much any way you want, and I've been doing that for maybe about 14 years now or so. And then my side hustle is I'm a landlord. So I'll buy a property and I'll rent it out. And as long as that property will rent out for more money than it costs me each month, I'm game on it because I'm making a profit in case something breaks, but I got somebody else covering my mortgage. And they're building the equity for me, right? So I'll give you an quick example is I have 4 properties right now, and if I take a room house that I'm living in, I'll be living for free because the profit from the other properties plus a room in here, I'd be paying 4 mortgages, 4 taxes, 4 insurance, 4 HOA, 4 not 4 light bills, but 3 light bills, 3 internet bills because I have 2 Airbnb's in this one, and all that will be a wash just by purchasing and owning the property. And what really got me into that was the travel. Like what I realized was I love to travel, I love to go places and do wonderful things, but I don't want it to cost me anything. I want to make money off of it. So like, why not own the house that we're going to, right? Own in and further down the line, own the boat that we're going to be on, or own the plane that we're going to take to the house where the boat is. And by renting out these homes, chartering these boats, chartering these planes, we can own them and not have it cost us anything. And that's really where the real estate investment began with me. I wanted, hey, I'm going to be paying to live anyway. I may as well live for free and grow that equity on somebody else's dime.
It's awesome.
So that's what's funding the vacations. It's just and RJ, I do work 6 days a week when I'm working, and I am 100% commission. I don't have a salary, no base, no hourly pay. But I'll tell you right now, I wouldn't have it any other way. You couldn't offer me a salary or an hourly job. I wouldn't take it. You know, if
Why
it
is
was
that?
commission, and I'll tell you why. Because that means that I have to put in either 40 hours or 12 months to earn that money. So say the salary is $150,000, right? That means I have to work 12 months to earn $150,000. And what I found is if I knuckle down and I do my 100% commission job, I could earn that $150,000 in 6 months, which you just cannot do with a salary, number one. So the salary is a pill that they give you to make you okay with giving them your time, right? And you don't want to trade your time for money. You want to trade your effort for money if you're able to, right? So, another way to look at it is you and your coworker are side by side, same job, same salary, but you outperform him each week in whatever your statistical category may be, whether it's jobs closed or it could be if you're a project manager, it's like level of business that you're at. If you're in marketing, it could be number of people you recruited. If you're outperforming that guy next to you and he's making the same money as you, do you find that fair?
No, not at all. I agree with you.
Not at all. Right.
Sounds like communism to me.
I mean, in a way it is, I want to have the opportunity to get to work hard and be rewarded for my efforts. So if it doesn't have a commission, I won't do it. And don't get me wrong, the goal is to not have to work at all, eventually. But that the commissions will fund my travel, but also my property investment. And eventually I'll have enough property where I won't need those commissions anymore.
That's good. Those are good goals.
Yeah, big time. The goal is to be financially free by 40 and not have to have enough things on autopilot where I can do whatever I want, whenever I want by 40 years old. And, some people can get there faster than others. And my avenue is not perfect and it is not the best, but it's using what I know. I fix houses. So why wouldn't I own property? When I look at a house, I can walk in there and basically tell you everything that needs to be fixed or everything that's in good shape on it. There's a book that I read called The Richest Man in Babylon. You guys ever heard of The Richest Man in Babylon? It's a short read.
No, I haven't read it.
Some fundamental rules of it. The first is you have to have income. The second is you have to save some of your income. The third is you have to invest what you save so your money can make money for you. And the fourth lesson is you have to invest in what you know. So the way the story goes is a sheep herder is approached by a goat herder, and he says, "Let's invest in diamonds so we can make a bunch of money." And it turns out, hey, they lost everything that they had. So the sheep herder went to the richest man in Babylon. He said, "What did I do wrong?" He says, "You don't invest in diamonds with the goat herder. You invest in diamonds with the diamond salesman." So you want to stick to what you know, and that way you'll make better decisions when you execute on your investments. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's great advice. I have to. What was the name of that book?
The Richest Man in Babylon. Very short read, and it uses stories to kind of explain investment and life lessons when it comes to wealth growth.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. Thank you.
Yeah, easy one.
Yeah, that's a good one. So your sales role, 14 years in sales. How talk about a little bit about your career progression and like the different roles you had and what you did to get from all right, first day on a sales job to now I was able to basically earn what most people earn in a year in 6 months and finance like a pretty awesome lifestyle in my opinion.
Yeah, I started out knocking on doors. I was actually I was bartending, and a guy comes into me and says, "Hey, I'm working for this company, home improvement company," and I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do. I said, "Hey, do they got 401k? Do they got, they match? Do they have dental and vision and health insurance and all that?" He said, "Yeah, they got that." I said, "I'll take it," because I was working for cash at the time. And I started knocking on doors, and that was a great way to start because it was the most humbling of experiences. And it also let me learn an industry from door knock till final paperwork. So I started as a door knocker, and this company that I worked for at the time, they're a very impressive company. They're working towards $1 billion a year, and the links in the chain are important to understand when running a business. So first link being the door knock, and then once they get an appointment, they got to confirm that appointment. Once that appointment gets confirmed, then we can send a salesperson there. Once the salesperson sells that, then that job has to go good, right? Because people can back out of a contract, especially there's a federal law, 3-day right of rescission. They can back out of any contract that they're signing with a salesperson within 3 days. Now that we earn that business and the business is not going to cancel, now we have to manufacture their product. We create the product for their home, and then that now gets passed off to project management, right? So the project manager, he's got to make sure the product is ordered and is getting shipped in on time. That we're going to have a crew that's able to install that product. They're going to be there on time, and all the little details have to show up to the job site so we can then begin to install. Install can be single day or consecutive day, multi-day installations, and then you want to do a follow-up with your customer to make sure that they're happy, that you're not just leaving them high and dry with a 99% finish, that something's 100% done. And what I found in all of those links in the chain is that the person that's closest to the money makes the most money except for the owner of the business. So that would be the sales position, the guy who gets the yes. And nothing happens, nobody gets paid until a salesperson earns somebody's business. That guy who knocked on the door, he can't get paid till somebody sells it. The project manager, we can't afford his salary without somebody earning the business. The owner, the installer, nobody gets paid without somebody selling something to someone. And that's kind of a quick look at the industry and the links in the chain. When it comes to actual sales, I think the reason that most people find difficulty in it is they don't have enough time in. You know, and what I mean by that is most jobs that pay salary or pay hourly, after your first month of work, you're going to have exactly the amount of money that you're supposed to be paid for your time. And with a sales commission job after your first month of work, the amount of paid is not based on the time you put in. It's based on the effort and the execution of that effort as well. So when it comes to sales, you really have to have a 1,000-foot view. You can't look at a week. You can't look at a month. You have to look at things quarter by quarter at the smallest when you're looking at your progression, when you're looking at your stats and your performance.
As you said, the chain, the links in the process, following the money.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, you started as a knocker, and then you moved into like the salesman role, right? So how did that happen?
The vice president just saw me. He saw me on the door knocking team, and he got a feeling that I was a sales guy, not a door knocker. So he just brought me into that position. That was maybe 10 months after I started knocking doors. I was back in 2014. So in 2014, I began my real sales career as opposed to door knocking career. And every statistic is tracked. From how many jobs you're given to how many prices you give on the table to how many of those become a yes to how many of those yeses get installed, and the total value of what's installed versus how many jobs you've been given. All those stats are tracked. And my thing was I wasn't special. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I outworked people. I stayed on the schedule. I did not take a lot of time off at that point in my life. I was heavy on the grind, and I got good at what I do. And honestly, these days, when it comes to selling, RJ, it's more about listening than talking. Here today, I'm glad to talk as much as possible with you guys and convey a good message and good information. But when it comes to selling, you'll find that I only talk when I have to. And it's more listening and offering solutions. And particularly with home improvements, man, I don't press anybody into anything they don't need. If your shit is broken, it should be fixed. If it is not broken, I'm going to tell you, hey, there's nothing wrong here. Maybe we should look at something else. That and the vibe you give off is gonna let you, people buy from people that they like, and they like people who are like themselves. And listening is the best way. Asking questions is the best way to cultivate a relationship quickly and earn somebody's business.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure. If you want to hear more about the career stuff, we can get into that if you like.
Yeah, I want to know more about the progression.
I know you actually because of your career progression, right? You actually, that was kind of why you moved to Denver, right?
That's right. Yeah. In 2016, so the company I was working for had maybe 7 offices when I first started 2013, and Denver was on their growth plan, and I knew that I wanted to be there. I like the outdoor activities, and I knew I didn't want to be in New York. It was like been there, done that vibe for me. So when 2016, when they opened up the office here in Colorado, in Denver, they brought along 6 sales reps from the 12 different offices. They brought along maybe 10 of the marketers, the guys who knocked the doors. There was 2 project managers and 2 installation teams, and we ended up writing up $1 million in our first full month of business. Me and 5 other salespeople. You know, the door knockers hit it. They gave us the appointments. In our first full month, we did $1 million. So we ended up breaking every record the company had. It was pretty righteous, to say the least. Actually, that team, we called ourselves the OG6, and it's funny. I was the last one to stick around out of the OG6. Everybody kind of goes off on their own direction, their own path in the world, and I stuck around the longest because I mean the money was there. The money was there. So ended up moving out here and changing roles from a sales position to a quality assurance position, which at this company was all the elite salespeople. Basically, what we did is after you bought 10 windows in the house, I would go there and make sure that the 10 windows were perfect. And then if there was anything wrong in the house, I would add it on to the window job or the original parent project at a higher margin and a lower interest rate. Most of our customers were not paying cash, they were financing. So, you know, it came in at like whatever it was, 9% financing, and they got, say, 20 windows. And I would say, hey, man, if you want to do your door, this is the cost of the door, guarantee the price for a year. If you want to get it done right now, the promotion is $500 off the door and 2% off the interest rate, including the parent project. So if you guys know anything about interest rate, you drop in 2 points on something, the monthly payment is going to go way down.
Yep.
So what we were doing was adding on to these projects, lowering their interest rate, and their monthly payment stays the same. They're like, hey, it's $500 a month, $300 a month, whatever it is. And I'm getting in there and I'm like, hey, let me add this door, put some shutters around the windows, and your payment's going to go down by $10 a month. What do you think of that? And people loved it. They loved it. So I was hitting them out of the park and doing that role.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I did $2.1 million that year. That was I think my best year in sales. I pulled in $300,000 that year.
When you do you get paid on the points? Are you allowed to mark up the rates?
No. We did not. We were, whatever lenders were giving us the best options were the ones we were using. And in that industry, there's a couple of key ones. There's Foundation Finance Company, Service Finance Company, and Green Sky. They do a lot of lending in the contracting field, in the remodeling industry, residential remodeling. So we were working with those guys. And it's funny that you bring it up, Pete, because that business that I was working for ended up creating their own lending program. $1 billion idea, to say the least. They become in their own bank. And when you're doing half a billion dollars a year, you have the capital coming in. You're able to do that, and making money on the points. I mean, that's the banking game. You know, that's a tale as old as time. So something that's very, very interesting, but certainly requires a lot of capital to get momentum.
Yeah, so I was in auto sales for a long time, for almost 20 years, and a lot of places, a lot of people, that's what they want to do. They want to be their own bank, and that's
in auto sales? It's the trifecta, right? It's the trade-in, the price of the car, and the financing, and they make money on all three of them. They make money on all three of them. So.
Yeah. But with a lot of times,
those the guys back in the back room, those are the guys making the most money.
The finance, yeah, that's where all the money is, in financing. That's why I was asking if you can mark up the points, because marking up the points is very lucrative. You know,
certainly,
reserves.
Certainly. I'll tell you what. There was certain instances, depending on what they qualified for, right? Depending on what the customer qualifies for, they can. My costs to purchase the loan, right? So there was an opportunity for me to make money in different ways. If I sold them a project at a 9.9 versus a 7.9, it would affect my commission. But
negatively or positively? Obviously positively.
So if I sell at a 9.9, the cost to purchase that loan might be $2,000, and if I drop it to 7.9, it might be $4,000. And that $2,000 difference would come out of the commission and also out of the business's pocket, right? And there's a way that they do it. I'm not gonna. It's a little bit boring to get into the details of that, but ultimately, like, yeah, if you sold them at a higher interest rate, you could make more money. But what you wanted to do because the money, the deal breaker wasn't the interest rate for most people. It was the comfortability of them getting the project done, right? When somebody walks into a car dealership to buy a car and they're approved for what they're approved for, it is what it is. When I knock on your door and I come to you and ask you for your business, it's so easy to say go scratch. So what you want, you kind of identify those things throughout your process.
Oh, of course.
Asking questions like, would you pay cash or would you finance? What's your monthly budget? And identifying those things ahead of time before you present a price. And then that way, hey, I know that they want this monthly payment, which means they're going to need this interest rate. And I present them options, and I already know which one they're going to take before they take it.
Yeah, we called it qualifying.
Yeah, right. You want to qualify that lead or get them qualified for that loan.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep. 100%. I agree.
Yep.
You're a good salesman.
Definitely that for sure.
Yeah, you won some awards, right? You've been recognized.
Absolutely. I have the highest volume for the Denver office for that company I used to work for, and not only getting the plaque. I've got a couple vacations out of it as well. A couple of trips to Cancun and a couple of trips to Tulum. I'd say seven vacations in total under my belt, just from accelerating and being in the top 5 or top 10 or number 1 at the business. And the money that comes along with it is also pretty great.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Cool. So you spoke a little bit earlier about your rental properties, and I think that's just like a really cool thing to speak about. We didn't go into details. You said you had 4 of them. So how did you? And you kind of spoke about why you decided to start buying rental properties, but I'm interested, like maybe you could tell us about your first rental property. How did that like materialize?
Right. So the idea was, I'm paying rent to live. I might as well own the property. And if I own multiple properties and rent them out at a profit, I can live for free. And if I continue to compound that, then I can create income on top of building the wealth of equity each month, and also the value of the properties as they continue to increase year over year. Now, RJ, you'll know this story already. I used the opportunities that were in front of me. So my brother got out of the military in 2019, and that's when I bought my first property. So he decided that he wanted to use his GI Bill to go back to school so he can get a bachelor's degree. That's how he wanted to do it. And at the time, I wouldn't have suggested for him to go to the University of Alabama because I didn't know anything about it. But he knew that he wanted to go. There was a buddy in the Army that he was with that was from there that talked it up. So he went to visited the camp. The campus was beautiful, and he decided to go to university there. So my brother's going to the University of Alabama on the GI Bill. After about 6 months, I went down there and I said, "Hey, are you gonna do your 4 years here? You've been here 6 months. You should know if you're gonna stay or you're gonna go." He goes, "I love it. I'm gonna stay. I'm definitely gonna get my degree from here." I said, "Okay, then we should own the house instead of you paying rent." I'm living in Denver at the time where the housing market is through the roof. And I'm looking at these cribs in Alabama around the university. And I'm like, oh, the price point's amazing. So we ended up buying him a house that was 15 minutes closer to campus than the house that he was renting. It was bigger, it was newer, it was more beautiful, and he pays me rent on it that saved him $200 a month. So it was a win-win for the both of us. I got to buy my first property and make it a rental, and he got to live in a nicer place, closer to campus, and save $200 a month.
Wow,
So that's what we decided to do. And fast forward to now, second property down there. My best friend Gerard lives with my brother, so they're splitting that rent. And I'm still making a profit off of my brother and my best friend, which we're all aware of and happy to do because they're still paying less than they would to some other freaking landlord. And I got a second property because the numbers just made sense. I mean, the mortgage is $600 a month, and I rent this townhouse for $1,200 a weekend.
Wow.
So, yeah, and if I long term rent it, it's about maybe $1,400 a month. But on Airbnb, when it's furnished, just for the week, sometimes less, sometimes less than that. But this is in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. And let me say roll tide, because when those games are in session, I get $2,000 a weekend for those games. And I only got to cover 600. So, after it's rented for what, 3 weeks, 1,500 a weekend, 600 a month, I need $6,000. It's like, 6 weekends and it's paying for the year, at least for the mortgage. So that's how that went around. And believe it or not, RJ, I bought those the first 2 properties that I bought, I didn't move into it. First one, my brother moved in, made it a rental. Second one, made it an Airbnb. And the third one was here in Denver. When I had those 2 income properties, that supplemental income from those, that allowed me to buy something in Denver without being house poor. The market here is outrageous. You can't get anything for less than $500,000 that is not a total shit box. So I bought a 1-bed, 1-bath here in Denver. That one I got a smoking deal on it. I got it for $265 right before COVID, and it's now worth $375. Went up about $110,000 in value. But more importantly is it makes $700 a month profit. So I got somebody in there right now. It's an Airbnb, and they rented it for 4 months, $2,200 a month, and it cost me $1,500 a month. That's with the electricity and the internet too. $1,500 a month is what it cost me. So they're there, and they're letting me, live in this house that I bought in January 5th of this year. This place a little steeper. I don't know if you know, the interest rates were up in January, way up from when they were pre-COVID. So the payment here is high. It's $4,000 a month. $4,000 a month. This one is a 3-bed, 4-bath, and it was $565. It actually appraised for $575, so I got $10,000 in equity immediately when I bought it. But I think it'll go up from there. I think it'll be a $700,000 place in 5 years. And once interest rates drop, I'm hoping 6 months from now I'll just refi, and then my payment will be closer to $3,400 instead of $4,000 a month. If it drops a point or two.
Yeah, it's kind of rates are about to come down.
For sure, everything is pointing in that direction. So there's if anybody out there who's listening, if you're not going to buy a house because of the interest rate, that's not a reason. You're just scared.
I agree.
The reality is that if the interest rates go up, you're going to be glad you bought when you did. And if the interest rates go down, you can just refinance. It's just paperwork.
And when the rates go down, the prices are going to go back up.
That's right. That's 100%, right? So you refi and your monthly payment goes down and the value of your house goes up. And you just play the game. But ultimately, see, what I've found is that most humans, when it comes, especially if they haven't bought a house yet, when it comes to their real estate investment portfolio, they are a stick in the mud, because everybody says, if this were to happen, then I would be good. If it was just this, then I would have enough. The interest rates were a little lower. If I had an extra $10,000, if the price was $50,000 less, if I was making this amount instead of this amount annually, if my wife's job wasn't on the fence, all these different things are a reason for you to not buy a house. And the reality is that there's no perfect situation. If you're waiting for all of those different things to line up to make your house purchase, you're going to be waiting forever. That's, you're not going to get what you want when you want. You just got to pull the trigger. If you think you can do it, just look at the monthly. Hey, this one's going to be $2,500 a month. If you can cover it, get it. And chances are you're not going to fumble it so bad that you're going to be underwater on your house if you use half a brain and you do your math on the numbers. And in 5 years, you're going to be a lot better off than if you didn't do anything. Period.
Yeah, you'd be. I'd agree with you 100%. I think right now is the time. And like, just to add on to what you were saying before about when you were selling your jobs and to get people to commit to the work, it would lower the rate. And I think most people shop the payment, and they're not thinking of the value that they're going to get by investing in a property.
You know, it's just easier. It's easier to do nothing or do the same thing than what you've been doing. But what I realized is that, hey, after 6 months, that's your new normal. You know, so when I was with the first property, I was like, okay, like my brother's moving into it. I wasn't making any money when it was just him. You know, I was like, just cover the mortgage, dude. That's all I need you to do. I didn't want any profit. And then that was the new. I had a mortgage being paid every month, and that was the new normal. It didn't cost me anything, just the down payment. And for the first 3 properties, I put 20% down. So there was no PMI, and I got better rates. So first property down payment, it was 185. So the 36, the closing cost, it was 40 grand down. 40 grand down. I haven't made a payment on that property since the 40 grand I put into it. And now there's probably at least double that in equity, if not more. Second property, same thing. It was 125 for that one in Alabama. So I put down 20%, 120 is about, I think I put down 35 grand with the yada yada, right? Maybe 30. Put down 20% on that one. And then I had to get renters for that one. I didn't have a brother ready to go. So I went in there and I floated the mortgage for a few months. I knew I could afford it. I got somebody in there. And since I got that in there, it has not really been vacant at all. And then I switched it to Airbnb, and it's been very easy having my brother and my best friend. I pay them to go clean it. They're happy. They make an extra $150 for, just hanging out at the house and doing some laundry. And that place became profitable. The third one, that one was 260. So I had to put down 54 grand or something like that, 56,000 with the closing costs. And then that what was my new normal? I was paying 3 mortgages. 2 of them were profitable. Every month, got to make sure everything, lights are on, all that. But your normal before all that started was just paying rent, right? So you just look at it like, hey man, I'm just paying rent, except I'm paying it to myself. And you'd be surprised at what you can get used to. Here we are, 2023. Now I got 4 every month. I got to go pay these 4 mortgages, right? There's a lot of money coming across the desk every single month. So, but that's the new normal. The new normal.
Cool. Well, I wanted to ask Logan, you're involved in a lot. You've got like really, really amazing drive, and not just the drive. There's a lot of people with drive, and they don't take action, and they're just dreamers, right? They're not doers. But what is it like? What makes you tick? Like what is this motivation that's getting you to these the hitting these goals?
It's funny you bring that up. A lot of that's changed in the last year. But there's definitely a relentlessness. You got to have a dog in you, RJ. When I was really not only in the sales game, but big into the team building, you would see certain people and they would have a dog in them, and other people wouldn't, and they would just be a little bit more flat. And I think how do I maintain focus? Try to be thankful, number one, for what you got, and literally have a goal, right? So my goals right now, just buy 1 house every year, at least for the next 10 years, if not 2 cribs per year, to try to retire at 40, right? But staying motivated is a constant battle, and it's only easier when you get small wins. You know, having good habits. It's all the same ones and twos, man. Like try to eat right, try to make your bed, try to work out, right, and surround yourself. Understand other people and their impact on you. Surround yourself with people that back you up on that. Like one thing I've learned about my relationships is that all the people that I like are triers, you know? They try, even if they might be a little weird, a little funny, but at least they try. And having triers around you, people that try hard, is going to make you want to try hard more. So that's a big part of my motivation. Also the fact that my dream board goals are pretty big, dude. Like I want to live on a catamaran for a year. I got that catamaran picked out. The Gunboat 66 is $13 million brand new, and that was 5 years ago. You can get a used one in Tahiti for $3.5 million. This boat is going to get you from New York to Miami in about 30 hours on the power of the wind. And I understand that if I want to buy a boat and live on it, and that boat is $4 million, I got a lot of runway, dude. I got to make a lot of money before I can own a $4 million boat. You know,
Yeah.
I want to own a house in like Breckenridge. You know, when I go to Breckenridge and I go to ski there, I don't want to pay an Airbnb. I want to own that shit. Well, a 1-bed, 1-bath in Breckenridge is $600,000. So if you want a house in Breckenridge, you're starting at 1.2, starting. And that kind of money, and the fact that I love doing what I do so much for fun, that's what really drives me to try to keep going and make the money that I want to make. Plus that New York state of mind, dude. I went to, in this month alone, I went to Tampa, went to a John Summit pool party. I went to Edmonton, caught an Edmonton Oilers hockey game, skied Revelstoke, skied Lake Louise. And when I came back day before yesterday, I was like, yo, I'm ready to get back to work. Like, I don't even want to go on vacation right now. I don't want to be on a beach right now. I just want to go to work, go to the gym, go home and sleep, go to work, go to gym. Give me a little bit of homebody, hard work, type of shit, and I think that it's just funny how that works. Some people, I guess, don't have that, like time to knuckle down. RJ, you've met my dad. When I was growing up as a kid, he was an air traffic controller and he worked 6 days a week. He picked up the overtime shift every single week my entire childhood. And even though my mom didn't work, she had work hobbies. She had a little travel agency, a little photography business. Her dad was a salesman, and I swear the family motto was work comes first. And now the motto that I have with my business level clique is work hard. When we're talking to each other, I just got off the phone with my buddy. He's a digital nomad. He's in Denver currently, and he's got to do the 1099 taxes for all his employees. And there's a concert tonight. We're going out with some hot chicks. The concert tickets are $20. We'll be in Boulder tonight to see Marvel Years, and it's going to be a riot. And I said, hey man, I'll pick you up, drop you off. Like, let's go. And he said, he can't. Got to do that paperwork. And I told him, all right, well, work hard. He said, work hard. I'll see you later. See you tomorrow. Work comes first. So what do they say, RJ? Life is like a sandwich. No matter which way you flip it, the bread comes first. Huh? Well, bread comes first, dog. That's it. Big reason why I broke up with my ex right there.
Yeah, you got to be able to focus on priorities. Can't have, I think, any relationship affect that, whether it be romantic or just a friend, platonic friendship. Pete, you have a cringe person of the week?
Yes, actually, and to add on to our cringe person of the week from last week, Logan Paul. I saw an interview because we were talking about how easy Jake and Logan have it. Do you remember, RJ?
Yeah, I remember that. Okay,
so I saw Jake Paul have an interview, and he was talking about his recovery, and it was unbelievable. He's ice baths, he's got the oxygen tanks, he's got everything, every resource. But the one thing that he was talking about was how he strengthens his neck and how important it is to strengthen his neck. And I just thought that was funny because you had mentioned your brace from your machine from last week.
Yeah. I mean, he knows he's surrounded by the right people. Neck strength is huge. I mean, it's very important, especially if you're in a combat sport. To take a punch, you gotta have a strong neck.
So the cringe person,
Mike Tyson preached that.
A strong neck.
Yeah.
Oh, I never heard that.
Yeah, big time.
So
I'm sure there's some good quotes.
So
gotta have a strong neck.
Yeah.
So the cringe
never
person
stand up for my neck.
What's that?
Yeah, I said he could never stand up to the strength of my neck.
Yeah. So the cringe person of the week this week. You guys familiar with Sam Bankman-Fried?
No.
Yes.
So Sam Bankman-Fried, Logan, to fill you in, was a guy that had a cryptocurrency exchange that turned out to be a Ponzi scheme.
Oh, I saw a couple of things on social media about that. Yeah, that seems so classic to me. So classic of a scam.
I know. Yeah, he didn't. It wasn't a brain buster.
No.
So it's bad what he did to people. So that would be a strike. What I read today was that he's pretty much taking his whole family down with him. He's implicated them all in the corruption. He's included them all: his brother, his mom, and his father. He had his brother. His brother was the person in Congress doing the lobbying. So, it's not a good look. And one of the things that I learned about Bernie Madoff was that he never told anybody what he was doing, not his wife or his sons. And
right.
Even though he was a dirtbag, I thought it was kind of noble that he didn't want to implicate anybody. But Sam Bankman-Fried, he just left his family out to dry.
Taking his mother down with him? What the hell, dude?
Well, they're all going to seem like they were. It's going to be hard. He gave them positions in the company that would make it hard for them to not have known what was going on. It's nearly impossible. Okay. His father was in charge of hiring the lawyers. So, and his brother was a lobbyist, at the Capitol.
Yeah, I heard a lot about his political donations. So he was actually a huge donor to this super PAC that I think he gave them like almost $30 million directly from him. And it's a super PAC that is like absolutely focused on pandemics for some reason. Like it's really weird. Like they want to eradicate pandemics, but you see how all that's going, right? Like eradicating a pandemic to me just means like pushing vaccines or silencing people that ask simple questions. So I definitely see him as he's just like you said, he's the cringe person of the week. I know in 2022 election cycle he gave millions. Like I think it was almost 50 million, somewhere between 50 and 100 million dollars. I read that he contributed to different campaigns.
He was the second
just for that cycle.
He was the second largest donor behind George Soros.
Oh, I didn't even know that he was that high up there. That's yeah.
Yeah, it was he gave a lot of money. I think it's more than what you're saying. I think it was upwards of $1 billion.
Billion. Huh.
Yeah, a lot.
Look it up.
But cringe person of the week, leaving your family out to dry, dragging them down with you, not good.
Dirtbag
move.
Agreed. Well, I'm not going to challenge him to a fight like I did Logan Paul because he's got a chance. He might be able to beat me with his little throw. So I won't challenge him this week. So guys, this was a really cool conversation. I know, when Logan and I, we have our check-ins, and this is exactly how they go. We just are bouncing ideas back and forth off of each other, pumping each other up about like what's going on in our lives, what opportunities we have. We're coming to each other for advice on some issues and impediments in our lives that are going on. So I knew when we asked him to come on today that the conversation was going to be, interesting, and also I'm hoping helpful for people that are listening. So thank you, Logan.
Yeah, my pleasure, RJ. Happy to be here, man. It's been really great.
Yeah, it was great, dude.
Yeah.
Thank you. Come back again. I'd love to have you on again.
Yeah, thank you very much, Pete. I'd love to come back. Maybe get a couple more vacations and talk about a little bit more wild stuff.
Sounds good, man. I hope you enjoy the concert you're going to tonight. I hope the ladies are beautiful, and I'm looking forward to hearing how that went.
Wait a second. How was the date last night? I heard you went on a date last night.
That's true. I did. It's been kind of cool dating in the 30s. I had a girlfriend last year. We were together for a full year, and it's still pretty fresh. But one thing I learned last night is when these ladies hit 30, man, I think the script really flips. All through my 20s, these girls are 21 to 28, 29 years old. They really got all the power because we want to be with them so bad. And then once you hit 32, 33 years old, now it's different because they want to be with us. And I feel like, the women get to choose which men that they want to sleep with. And the men get to choose which ones that they want to marry. And I'm actually really excited about dating in my 30s because that flip the script and everything has changed. And I tell you, I didn't go home with her. But if I wanted to, I could have. But that spark wasn't there for me. I didn't really, we kissed. We had one drink, we kissed. I left a little bit early. So that should show you right there that it was pretty basic.
Gotcha.
But I did learn that I'm holding a lot more power these days when it comes to the dating scene and the women that are my age. And I think, women probably peak between 22 and 29. And I think men peak closer to 35, so I'm 32 now. I'm getting ready to peak, I'm working on it for sure. And, I don't know if a wife is coming sooner or later, but for now, I'm just going to enjoy the ride.
Good for you.
Yeah.
I love to hear it, man. I hope you have a good time, and we're definitely going to catch up about that. I want to hear how everything went.
Yeah, I'm actually linking with a girl right after I get off the podcast here. I'm going to hop in the shower and get fresh and go meet up with her. And if she's fun, I'll bring her to the concert. But if she's not fun, I'll say, hey, I got to go to a concert.
Well, have some.
Like
have
you
fun.
said, you got the power.
Yep.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, good chatting. Let's talk soon. Take care.
Sounds good.